Welcome to the Tone Lounge Podcast, the definitive music industry and gear podcast with Jonathan Gilmet and Frank Fleckenstein.
What's up, guys? This is the Tone Lounge Podcast. It's episode number 4, and with me today is not only the Duke of Voxington, Sir Jonathan Gilmet, but also we have a first guest. The Duke of I'm calling him the Duke of Voxington because he likes Vox amps so much. And we had this Vox amps kind of episode going. But also, we are welcoming our first guest, ladies and gentlemen, Chris from JPTR FX.
Hi.
Yeah, we're actually doing this. So, how's everybody? How's everybody doing this morning?
Very great. Very good. Slow start in the morning. And now I'm in a podcast.
Nice.
And a very brand new podcast, too.
Yeah. 3 dudes in a podcast.
Yeah.
The newest podcast on the blog.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to start, since we always start with things that are like news related. I'd like to start with that, and I'll invite Chris to kind of maybe share his opinion. So, anything that you can tell us, Jonathan, that you saw this week or the last week that is regarded news, something that kind of piqued your interest?
In terms of gear, not so much. I think it's been mostly like the subjects of new pedals that come out and how some people feel about the fact that you have a new pedal that comes out and it's already sold out. And then there's like price gouging going on the used market. That's more what I retain because, you know, if you have a pedal that comes out for 179 euros, it's sold out in like 24 hours. And then you see it for sale for like $700. People are not happy about seeing that. So that's kind of, I've been focusing just a bit on that just to see like what is going on. Like, why are people feeling this way? Why do people think that they can go to the bank and say, hey, I got rich off of selling pedals on the used market for 6 times the price? You know, it's like, I'm a businessman. I can sell this pedal for 6 times the price. So that's more what I retained from the conversation. And it's has to do with, you know, what JHS came out with not that long ago, what Wampler came out with a few days ago. So that's more like the controversial thing, but I didn't really focus too much on it. That's what I retained because a lot of people asked me questions about it because I did a video on the germanium tumnus myself. And people were like, should I like buy one or am I okay with the tumnus? Dude, you're okay with the tumnus. You don't have to get, you know, the brand new thing just because it's new. You know, if you have something that serves you well, stick with it. So that's been my thing this week.
Okay, good. Yeah,
I'm just
for me,
checking. I'm just checking
Go ahead.
the sold prices of Not a Clone, and I think, do people really buy pedals at this high price point? Like, it's nothing new that some people want to sell like raw pedals for the 4th amount of the price. And I don't think people really buying that. But I have to check.
Yeah, that's the thing is, do they get to sell it at that price? They're asking, like, let's say $500, but can they sell it for $500 if the person that wants to purchase one knows that JHS is coming out with a new batch, let's say in 2 months from now? If someone wants to really buy it, they might say, yeah, I'll pony up and I'll pay $500 for it. But I think someone that's more aware is going to be like, no, I'm going to wait 2 months. When it's back on pre-order, I'll pre-order it. There's no way I'm paying $500 for it. So I don't know if it's indicative of the real market or more like the inflation that people are trying to put on the pedal market. So
there's one for 1,000 in Germany right now. So Frank, if you want to have one, no one is buying those. No one is buying. I I just checked Reverb, and no one is buying those for that price. No.
Yeah.
They just hope someone is stupid enough to get on the bait.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would debate. I would think so. But talking about reverb, let me share my screen with you guys. Can you see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So Reverb just reveals its best-selling guitars of 2023, including most popular used models with some surprising results. And interestingly, it seems like for the second year in a row, the SE Silver Sky from PRS is the best-selling electric guitar on Reverb, which is, I mean, this does not have to be like a. Just gonna open this article. It's not an indication of the entire industry, but it definitely means something. The Silver Sky SE is not. First of all, it's a signature model. That's one thing. The other thing is, it's a very specific guitar to begin with, because it kind of wants to be close to what 60s guitars feel like in terms of, and it has like this insane fretboard radius of 8.5 inches, which is very close to what like some of the 60s guitars had, which for most people is not the most comfortable to play. So I find it to be interesting that this guitar has been top selling for such a long time. The other thing that we have to take into account.
I think it's interesting because at the beginning, everyone was talking bad about the model, like how ugly it is to mix the headstock with the Fender shape. And now, surprise, surprise.
Yeah, it's a best-selling guitar. What we have to take into account, though, is one thing. PRS found itself, especially in Europe, with a huge overstock of the model, and they reduced the price heavy. So I think they initially started selling this thing at like 900 something euros, or the corresponding value in pounds, and you saw some people selling it for around 500 to 600. So that obviously has an impact on, well, do I want a Strat from Fender for $600, or do I want a PRS? Obviously, because there are so many Strats and Strat copies around, you might go for the PRS or the PRS SE, for that matter. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting that for the second year in a row, a guitar that, as you said, Chris, everybody like bad-mouthed in the beginning, turns out to be, and then in this amazing color, look at that.
I would play that.
Yeah, 100%.
Are other colors available? Silver sparkle ones?
No, but I've seen a Dutch retailer who came up with a pretty funny idea. He bought used silver. He bought the Silver Sky, or like the cheapest Silver Skies he could get. He took off the poly finish and refinished them with nitro finish, and relicked them in colors that are like typical for like obviously like old Fender guitars, and obviously they're more expensive because of the extra work, but they look killer. It's like a, I don't know, like a Relic Sunburst, or like Relic Fiesta Red, stuff like that. And he kind of advertised them as PRS SE Silver Sky in the color that we've initially wanted.
Do you like when Fender guitars are like overpainted?
You mean like some color over another, like sunburst over blue or something?
But whatever. Like paisley on the top, and then it's relicked in like whatever gold, and you can see the other paint underneath.
Yeah, that's fun.
They do look
I think it's
good.
Fun.
Yeah. I guess they're trying to do the whole, like, how people back in the 1960s thought that paisley was ugly, So they would paint over it, but the paint they were using was really cheap, so it would wear off, so you'd still see the paisley underneath. And I guess that's what they're trying to arc into, like those old guitars that you can buy because they're like player grade. And I think it's cool. Like if they can do a good job with the painting, I think it looks great actually.
And I think paisley is just a layer of like foil or something. It's just like a foil layer.
I think it's like wallpaper.
Yeah, something like that. It's like a kind of a thin layer of something, and then they finish over it, and then it determines the color. So essentially, you have the pattern, and the rest is transparent, and then you paint over it, and something like that. I think I saw somebody selling those foils for paisley.
Okay.
Anyways, yeah, it's I just found this to be interesting. Then something else that I found interesting. No, not the Fender one. I mean, Fender celebrates 70th anniversary of Strat with new models, and I look at the word new models, and I'm like, oh yeah, they have new models.
It's new iterations on models that already exist, kind of thing. New colors, they're new models. Yeah,
exactly.
But
this one I found to be nice.
Do you really hope that Fender is doing like something new? Because people mostly want an old model from Fender and nothing new. And if they do that, they mostly risk like to make like a spaced out Fender model that no one likes. And in most cases, this happens. Gibson did that with those weird Firebirds or whatever, and nobody liked them because they were new.
Yeah. It's true. But Gibson
it's
also
something we talked about. Yeah, go ahead, Frank.
No, please.
Yeah, we talked about this on the podcast last week. We said we were talking about Vox amps, and we were talking about how Korg is trying to innovate. They're trying to bring new technologies and new designs, but the people don't want it. People want the old stuff. So I think the bigger they get, the more that they have to cater to their like the roots, if you will. So if they're building, I don't know, like the Stratocaster, they don't want a Strat with a bunch of noiseless pickups. They want the Strats with like the vintage voiced ones. So I think they're kind of stuck in a corner with that one.
Yeah, I think so too. In other related news, something that I couldn't find online, but I found like as chatter in the industry. So the first thing is it's not something that people in the US or non-Germans might be caring about, but I've heard that one of the biggest stores that we have in Germany is completely closing down its business to the end of the year. Just Music in Berlin.
Yeah, but that's nothing new.
People saw it coming, but a few days ago it was actually confirmed that this is going to take place at the end of this month. They're not going to open their doors again in January. And to give a little bit of context to people who don't know Just Music or have never heard of them, they used to be actually a chain. So they had a store in Berlin, they had a store in Munich, they had a store in Hamburg, and they had a store in Düsseldorf at some point. And a few years ago, all of that didn't work anymore, and they shut down all the other stores except for the head store in Berlin. But apparently the whole thing is not profitable for them anymore, and they're shutting down, which goes a little bit into what we spoke about like 2 weeks ago. We see a lot of changes in the industry, and a few people are not doing well. Even some big people, like Just Music always was seen as a big player. Even some of the bigger guys are not doing so well. And now we have confirmation that sadly they're going away, and it's going to shake up things in Berlin. I think all the other stores in Berlin can kind of, catch up with the people and help prevent that people don't know where to go to in Berlin. But it's kind of a phenomenon, another phenomenon within the industry that it's on a decline a little bit.
When was the last time you were in the store in Berlin?
Shortly after they reopened after the pandemic, because I had to go to Berlin to visit a few people, and I also visited Just Music. But I know that they had issues with staff fluctuation a lot. So people would work there and they would quit after 3 months because they had a different imagination about what it would be like to work in a guitar store or in a music store. And then so they always had to like hire new people, and then you have to train them, and then after 3 months they're gone and you have to train more people, etc., etc. So difficult, very, very difficult.
Very difficult, the whole store.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that this...
Please.
Yeah, do you guys think that perhaps the old model of music stores is fading away and it's making way for something that's new and different with a younger business, if you want, like younger business model? Because a lot of these businesses, like I'm from Canada, right? So in Canada, we have music stores, mom and pop shops, and then we have one big franchise that's called Long and McQuaid's. And I've seen in small shops and at Long and McQuaid's quite a difference in the approach. So the small stores, it's usually run by a family. So eventually they close down because they're not modernizing. They're not catering to the needs of modern musicians. So they kind of go the way of the dodo bird. But then you see someone like Long and McQuaid, they're looking at Tillman, they're looking at Sweetwater, Guitar Center, and they're trying to stay with that model because that's what was working for, like, let's say the last 20 years. But now we're seeing more businesses where you can purchase directly from them. So let's say I want Jupiter FX, I want FFX pedals. I can go directly to you guys and buy the pedals directly from you. I don't have to go through the mom and pop shop. I don't have to go through some of the bigger businesses because I may or may not find your products in their store. And you guys might be like super popular, but those guys, they're not serving that. So do you think that might be one of the effects of this?
You could just ask them to order at us.
Okay.
If you want to try our pedals in a store, you can just go to the counter and ask if they can order. And they hit us up with the email. We get a dealer discount, and then 2 weeks later, you have the pedal in the shop. That's how it works. Okay. And most shops don't care. And they also don't care if their guitars are not set up and not tuned and play horrible. And that's why some stores close and some stores, like family businesses, keep open for so long. And people think why it's not closed anymore or closed already because the times are so heavy. Because at some small shops, the people are very hearted in their work. So if you order or buy a guitar in their shop, they make sure that it's like set up well. You get new strings, maybe a strap with it or a bag if you're a beginner, and the other stores just don't care. Mm-hmm. And I return to someone that is like taking care of me as a customer. And if I visit a shop, I might get a coffee or whatever, then I return my whole life. And most shops forget how to treat customers.
That I think you just hit the nail on the head there. I think that might be, because it's kind of how I see it. I see it like the bigger the company gets, the less in touch they are with their consumers. So if you take, like, I don't know, if you buy, I'm just going to name them, but I'm not picking on them. It's just more of an example. Let's say you buy a Gibson, right? You buy the Gibson, the store sets it up poorly, and they're treating that Gibson the same way as, let's say, an Epiphone. So you get there, the string action is this high, the intonation's not done, and you're like, this thing is $3,000? Fuck that. You put it back on the wall, you're like, this guitar is no good, right? But if you know how to set up a guitar, you might be like, okay, these guys didn't take the time to set it up. I can set it up at home. But for someone that's not in the know, they might grab the Gibson and an Epiphone. They might go, fuck that, I'm going to take the Epiphone because it plays better. To me, it was a better experience. But it all has to do with the care that the company puts into it. If they have too much gear coming in and they sell a lot, they might not take the time to set up their instrument properly.
Also, the experience of someone that is like setting up for guitars for 20 years is not the same as you do it at home.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, it's true, and it's something that we spoke about, like when we talked at length about the current state of the industry, where I said, you know, if you want your local store to be in business for the next, I don't know, X amount of years, then go there and buy the stuff there and don't ask for a discount. If you're nice to them and if you kind of establish a relationship with them as a permanent customer, like somebody who comes there at least once a month, maybe to buy, I don't know, strings, accessories, whatever, they are going to treat you differently anyways, and they are automatically give you this or the other advantage, you know? Or maybe you get a guitar set up for free. Let's say after 1 year, you want to set up your guitar and you want to, you know, intonation, check up and everything, and they'll do that for free, because although there's something in place that's called guarantee, those things usually aren't free because they're like extra services. And I've seen that where you go into the store and they say, oh, I need to set this up. And if they have capacities in the moment, they're just going to take your guitar, say, hey, go drink your coffee. The coffee is on us. We'll do the setup and you can take your guitar with you in 30 minutes. You know, that's the thing.
Or just ask someone that is not in the internet, hey, what overdrive pedal do you really think is good in a band mix? And then the person who works there for 15 years can tell you, oh, I played everything and tried everything because I'm the owner of a guitar shop. And what really cuts is this or that if you do this or that in music. It's experience, and experience is so much worth in times where everybody has an opinion in the internet, because not everyone has the experience to have an opinion.
That's another fact too, is when you're talking to, let's say, your sales rep at a music store, you ask them, hey, to your point, Chris, what pedal sounds good? And the person's going to look at you, okay, well, I need more details. What amp are you using? What guitar are you using? What other pedals are you using? In fact, go get your stuff, come back at the store. I'll put you in that room over there. We're going to crank things up. You can test it out to your heart's content. That's the experience you get with a smaller shop. With a bigger shop, the guys don't have enough time. So a lot of times they're going to be like, well, our top seller is this one, so this is what I suggest. But they don't give you the opportunity to actually try it out and talk to them at length, because it might look stupid when you think about it. Maybe the pedal is just $99 and the person sells it to you for $99. But to you, if that person gave you more information, they made sure that you knew what you were buying, to you, it's worth more than $99, because next time you're going to go there, you might purchase something bigger. You might purchase something more expensive, and you might rely on them for future purchases.
The local guitar store here in Wilhelmshaven made me addicted to gear with like the age of 15. They ruined my whole life.
Before we get into the main topic, I'd like to point out two other things that I've heard as chatter. One is actually, I've heard that from a couple of reliable sources, since you mentioned Gibson a little bit earlier. So apparently Gibson is up for sale again. And I don't know who's buying, but this can only mean one thing. Huh?
So buying the whole thing, making Fender paying for it.
Yeah. This can only mean that the group of investors that bought Gibson don't see the returns that they expected to get from them. And I mean, if you look at what Gibson has been doing in the past 2 years, they have been working so much more with artists. Like, they've brought in so many artists that suddenly play Gibson guitars and have Gibson signature models. Then Kramer, which is part of Gibson, they just released the Izzy Hale signature guitar to cater to female guitar players. But yeah, apparently there's not enough money returning from all those investments, so they decided that the company's up for sale. And I don't know who's going to buy that company, but whoever does, I really hope they do something different, because as of now, changing owners every couple of years. So there's one thing, and the other thing is Marshall. We talked about Marshall as well. Marshall is cutting out all their distributors worldwide, and they're going direct to stores, which might or might not mean that things might get more affordable because they have like one less mouth to feed as far as margin goes. We don't know, but I'm looking forward to see. So I think the beginning of next year is going to be interesting in a lot of ways, especially inside this industry.
It makes me wonder: could it be because these companies, they are too big? Like they're thinking about their portfolio, right? So if you think about Gibson owns a bunch of other companies, and they're just thinking profit. And at the end of the day, they're kind of missing the niche market that they're actually in. Because, I mean, they can't play with, like, let's say someone like Apple, right? Apple, they can manufacture phones for next to nothing and sell them at a premium. When you're talking about a Gibson, oftentimes it takes time to build these guitars. You need people that are very qualified to build these guitars. It takes time to train these people. It's like the whole thing. You look at it, and then they're not making enough money. And if you guys remember, Gibson was going around suing everybody, right? Yeah. They're like, stop making this model. It looks too much like our model. But you can't really do that, because apparently you can't sue people on the design of the body. The headstock, yes, but not the body for some reason. And they were going around suing everybody. Yeah. And that didn't really work out for them, did it?
No, I mean, it ended. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, they just wrapped their reputation, and now they doing cool stuff, and media-wise also it looks cool. But they did ruin their reputation for the last 10 years in like non-quality products and non-cool moves. So no one is buying Gibson anymore. That's the problem. Because you can get way better guitars for the same price that look like a Gibson.
Yeah.
Like a Gibson.
Yeah.
100%. All right.
I got one last question for you guys. It kind of has to do with the fact that Gibson is bringing in a lot of artists. Does 2023, in your opinion, do you think that it really matters who plays the gear? Or does it matter more to the consumer what the gear has to offer to the individual person? So for me, let's say you have Slash as one of your artists, but let's say I don't particularly care about Slash, and you got this new model and you're putting all your marketing into the new Slash guitar or the new Slash amp. And guys like me are like, what do I care, right? Is it better to keep going this route, or is it better to say, hey, I got this new product. It's for you as a guitar player. If you are someone who tours, you're someone who plays at home, this is a new product. Which do you think in 2023 works better for a company? The artist or a product for a specific niche?
Yeah, I always had mixed feelings when it comes to artists because, and full disclosure, I mean, I got into guitar like many others because I liked a particular artist. And I was like, I want to do that. I saw somebody rocking out, and I said, I want to do the same thing. And that's how people start. So artists can definitely help getting people into guitar, such as well as athletes can help, bringing people into sports and so on and so forth. I think the examples of how that principle works are endless. However, I always had an issue with like signature models or artist models, just for the sheer fact that what this person likes might not be what I like. And whenever I tried artist models, it rarely happened to me that I was like, oh, that's something that I could like. It seems like Eric Clapton and I, we have the same taste or something, but it rarely happened to me. So I think nowadays, A, people are way more informed. B, they look at what the gear has to offer to them. Or if it's a guitar, if it's a pedal, if it's an amp, and if it actually serves their like purpose and what they want to use it for, rather than it's connected with Slash or Eric Clapton, or that's what I think.
Okay.
I think as a grown up, if you see like a famous artist, like whatever Slash, and I like the guitar sound of it, I don't care if it's a Slash signature model or the amp that he played the last 30 years, what it is, a JCM 800 or the silver one. And I just get those. I don't need a signature version out of it. But I think if I would do a signature guitar, I would do like an entry level model, because like I think kids are more like into role models, like, I want to play guitar like Slash because whatever. And as a grown person, you think, cool, it's a whatever Les Paul, I just get one of those, thanks, because he's actually playing those, and not just like a cheap signature model that he offers, the brand.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But on pedals,
Then,
I would.
With
But on
pedals,
pedals, I would just like, I would go more on the like, it's designed with some famous person, not just like a signature thing. But if you like get a person that is like into high gain stuff and like having this person into designing the circuitry, this might get help. But I think signature stuff is more cringy than cool. Because it sounds great, but then they're like red, and they're like the Kerry King amp. It's like on data sheet, it's like the perfect amp for like me, but it looks so cringy with like tribals on it, or the Randall amp, like the of Doom amp with like skulls on it. I'm not 14 anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Cringe.
Good point. So, but our main topic today, now that we've talked about some industry chatter and news, our main topic is JPTR FX. So let's talk a little bit about JPTR FX. And in comparison to my fellow podcast partner, I'm actually going to bother you with the question, what made you get into building pedals? And when did it start?
I built pedals longer than I started the company, of course, but I started the company because I had no other job. And I was not getting one. So I thought this might be the perfect time to listen to everybody else and just do it. And make a Facebook page and get the papers from the city and doing that like full-time officially. And I was scared because it's very complicated in Germany to be self-employed, because you have to do a lot of awful paperwork that is way more complicated than like making a whole company. And this is very complicated in taxes and like in insurance and whatever. But if you have that done, then it's pretty easy. regulations, whatever German stuff. The Germans know, and and yeah, if you had that ready, and this took like years and months and lots of hard work, the whole company thing is actually pretty easy. You get just like loyal employees that might be friends, and pay them enough so they are all happy, and you have a good working company. Pretty easy. But I'm building on gear stuff for like 22 years or 20 years. Like I was 14 because I painted one of my first guitars black because it was red, and I ripped all the cables apart, and the local music store told me I drilled the cables because I have no soldering iron, because I don't know how to fix cables or whatever, and they showed me how to solder cables. This was a local music store, by the way. And they showed me how to do that on my own. And then I got a soldering iron and repaired stuff for friends. Yeah. And then I started doing like the first kits and working normal jobs. And then 10 years later, I decided to do that because friends are like buying my pedals, and I was refusing the money at first because I was way too cool to take money for my art. And as a jobless, stupid kid, I told a friend that I was getting like 200 euros for a pedal if I do that, and I asked him if I'm still cool if I'm doing that, you know. I was like 23, 4, whatever. And he was like, yeah, are you stupid to avoid that? And I was like, he might be on something. And yeah, I did that. And I was one of the third wave of boutique pedals in Germany. So there was just like the old ones like Occo and Orion, and that's it. And there was Enrico from KMA and me, and that's it. And it was like an empty party, and the whole buffet was for us. And now everyone is building pedals. It's the fourth wave, as I call them. But they are gone mostly now because of COVID, or because in Germany you have to, you get a big tax wave after the second or third year, and most companies that are self-employed are closing after the third year because of that. And most companies did, because Germany is complicated.
So I got a question for you, Chris. When it comes to your business, how I perceive JPTR FX is that this for you is not just about the money, but it is about having a vision, and it's also something you're passionate about. Because I was talking with different people in this industry, and they're saying, you know, you sell pedals, you're not doing it just for the money, because it's hard to compete out there. There's, like you were saying earlier, there's a lot of companies out there. But I get the impression that people like yourself, you're doing this because you're really passionate about what you're doing. So is this your philosophy? Is it more about like the self-expression, putting like the right product in the right consumer's hands? Like, what is the philosophy behind JPTR FX?
I have to lie if I would tell you like it's only about passion. Of course, it's a bit of money, and money makes living easy. And I like to pay my employees well. I like to have money. I like to live well. But after that, I do what I want, and I design what I like. And people just buying because they know there is this crazy German guy who makes like weird noise music for the last 20 years. And what he thinks is good might be as good for me. And this is my selling point of the company. It's just like not just like, oh, here's a tube screamer, but it has a pentagram on it. You know, it's this is what most pedals do, but it's I think it works, to be honest. When it works, it works. But I see my stuff more like my own signature stuff, or like an art thing. You know, it's for me, it's like a tool that I create for something specific. You don't get like the slash whatever rhythm sound on a pedal. You might get, of course, but like a catastrophe pedal is way more, and it's designed to do way more than just like being a distortion pedal. So I just do what I like, and people just buying because they see, I need a muff, but muff is not extreme enough for me. This person shows me there are the extreme stuff, and I like that for that tool. For a song that I have, that I need this kind of sound.
So basically what you're doing is selling your taste, right? What you like in pedals.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you ever were in the situation where you needed like a super extreme sound, it's like stacking 3 overdrives or whatever? You don't have to do that with our pedals because it's the sound already.
Okay.
Yeah, that was something that was something that was something that when I first saw your pedals, that was back in 2017. The first time I saw them, I was like, not only do they, and I mean, I only saw the demos that were available at the time, which most of them you did yourself. But I thought, okay, not only do they not only do they sound different, but also like visually they were made in a complete different way. They looked like. They just looked different to everything else. Everything else had like a color and like some graphics on, and your pedals were not fitting into like a specific category, sonically and visually. Was that?
Yeah, and also I have to.
Please.
I'm sorry. Also, I have to make sure that every normal thing is also available on the pedal. I hate to do like one-trick ponies because I think it's a waste of money. And it's not that we are like cheap, but we're also not like very expensive, but it's more on the expensive side. But if you spend like hard-earned cash, I want to give you more than just a one-trick pony, you know? So I do extra stuff always in pedals, or like if you play, is it playable for bass? Yeah, it has a whole EQ section just for bass guitar on the inside, so people don't sell it like 3 years later, because they might think, oh, I'm not into that anymore, because you can just switch something and it works again. This is what is very important for me. Also, we have to talk about that Frank is one of the first persons that trusted in my work, and as a Reverb employee saw our videos and thought, this guy, I have to help him. And he did. And now I'm here.
I didn't know that.
Thank you, Frank.
I gave it a little push, but as I always say, the stuff that you did, it was already there. I just help you to get it in front of more eyes. You know, that's
you
one of the things.
You just showed me the stage.
I just showed you where to go and show all the stuff that you do, and the rest happened almost by itself. I remember that we talked in December or something, to December 2017, and you called me up because at some point you had so many orders coming in on reverb where you were like, I don't know what to do. I don't have enough components. I actually need to like bring this to the next level. But from there on, it was growing steadily. And I mean,
I like to learn, and mostly people learn from mistakes. And sometimes you get an angry email, and I get very angry about myself if I get angry emails, and then I'm never happy to again. But that's how you grow.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's how you grow.
If you get an email from an angry customer, and instead of being angry at the customer for being angry at yourself because maybe you are self-reflective enough to see, okay,
they paid money, of course they're angry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I would do that too. Where's my pedal? Whoa. I'm that too, at some point, of course, because I know the other side. But they paid, they want something, and I don't deliver at a certain point or whatever. And sometimes it's just to make everyone know that it needs 9 days instead of whatever, or that we are building this or that right now. And also you can share this as content for your company. And I found a way everything works because I tried a lot, like really a lot. And now everything works like it should be. I don't have to look at numbers anymore. I just opened the shop and tell Felix and Liz what are to build in the next hours, and everything runs. I don't have to care about it anymore. But it was a lot of work, a lot of planning, a lot of being honest to yourself, a lot of learning. And this is way more difficult than designing a pedal.
I'm going to have a question for the both of you, because both of you build pedals. Do you think that's probably what keeps smaller companies more honest and in touch with their consumers? The fact that you deal directly with complaints and praises from people, as opposed to, let's say, a bigger company that has staff that is just there to answer emails with platitudes like, I'm so very sorry you feel this way. We will make sure it's, brought to the attention of this person from this department. You guys are getting this email and you're like, what the fuck? Like, this person is complaining about this? How come this went out the door and it's got issues? Where's the issue? And then you're more into the quality assurance than, let's say, a big company with a bunch of... Yeah.
That's important, and this is what makes boutique pedals important. And if something bad happens, the pedal comes in damaged, whatever. DHL did the whole damaged ballet on it. And the customer gets, of course, angry and disappointed. And disappointed is way more difficult to handle than angry. And what they always do is like posting. It comes in damage, whatever. So in management, in like selling management, it's important to avoid that other people don't want to order anymore. And also you do customer care and get this person happy and a fan. So what you do is then see if you get a new pedal via express to him, call him saying, I'm sorry, but this not the excuse thing, just doing okay, we do the right thing here now, keep the old pedal, give it to a friend who can solder, whatever. It's too expensive. Most times it's way too expensive and difficult to import it back because German imports are like horrible, and I would pay more than nobody wants a repaired pedal. So it's for me like B stock, and if I sell for B stock, it's way more important to get it back than I get from selling it B stock. And the whole day is then focused on get this person happy again. And if you order at Thomann, they just send you a new guitar and then you're hopefully happy again. But they don't care because ordering anyway at Thomann again. You have to do then the consequences if you whatever. But yeah, customer care is very, very important in times where everybody can go into the internet and do the cancel culture thing on you. Happens to companies.
Yeah.
So be nice
Yeah.
to your customers. And customers, please be respectful to other people that work for you in this point. I don't like get emails with just when in big letters.
Yeah.
I don't like that. Please don't do that. I'm a human too.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Happens.
I never, obviously I'm far away from having the volume of orders that you're at now. So I didn't have to deal
Do you
as
see
much.
Liz at the background?
Yeah.
She's building 300 jive pedals right now as we speak.
Wow.
But not today, but this is on her plan right now.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
If you
I
order a
don't-
jive,
But that's what I'm saying. Like I don't have the same volumes as you do, so I didn't have to deal as much with returns or like technical issues that you might have to deal with because of the sheer lack of volume. But
Yeah.
I think there is a difference between being approachable as a company and being like you being the head of a company and so are others who are in direct contact with their audience, with the community. I think there's great value to being approachable, and if somebody can reach out to you directly, as in there are companies out there who sell product in bulk in like huge amounts, and they calculate like they cut back on the quality control, and they kind of calculate that there's going to be some percentage of returns. So they know that a certain amount of guitars are coming back if the customer kind of sees all the flaws that the guitar or the instrument or whatever it is has, and they expect them, to return them, and then they sell them as B stock. All of that is factored in, but that obviously is a whole less personal. It's a lot less personal than a small builder being approachable and being also being accountable for the things that they do. In a big company, you don't know who's responsible. It's just names. Here's our head of customer engagement. Here's our head of customer service. It's just a name. You don't have you don't know how the guy looks like, how the guy it really is. If it's just a guy on a desk with a stack of papers with warranty issues, we don't know. So yeah, I think there's big value to it.
it's important.
It's super.
You're drinking out of the Jupiter FX coffee cup?
Of course. I'm doing. Let's see if the camera catches that. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Small gifts are very important.
Yeah, small gifts are definitely very important. So I have a question.
Absolutely.
When you started, when we look at the visual aspect of the pedals, were these like some of the visuals are like as extreme as the sound as some of the pedals produce? So were these conscious decisions, or are you looking for inspiration, or are you like how does the visual aspect of a pedal come together?
I'm searching for one of the first pedals right now.
Oh, you actually have an archive.
That's cool.
Yeah, with like prototypes and what other companies do. So I can compare as a reference and whatever. It's not just like noise and explosions, and we do like the science stuff with our pedals. This was the first prototype of a pedal.
Okay.
Warsaw. what was later the Schwerkraft.
Schwerkraft. Okay.
And this was actually like Schwerkraft, but craft,
gravity,
like
gravity,
force.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this was actually the first pedal I built with 19 years old. Yeah. just some boost, and it's sounding awful. And this was a fuzz face in a feedback loop with 8 times as much gain, whatever. I don't know, some industrial transistors in it to make it sound like an explosion. Yeah, but I was like way into Star Wars and Mad Max stuff, like old damaged electronics that are like totally fucked up, gaff tape all over, but also look like the romantic design stuff like Jules Verne, like 100 miles under the ocean. Do you know? I just know it in German.
Jules Verne's, yeah.
Like the boat from him, like very Da Vinci stuff, and like combining them together with my designer. And now we have a whole line of that. And we changed all designs this year to make it fit together and relevant and like 8 years later.
So essentially,
because
if
we
you
don't,
put,
because I have like a lag when someone speaks, and I don't know if.
Yep.
Okay, good. I'm just not interrupting because I'm unfriendly.
No worries.
No, there's a buffer there.
Okay.
Yeah, we're having a hard time with that. Yeah.
So essentially, if you put all the pedals together, you'll get like sort of a complete image.
Should look like that.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
There's a kaleidoscope coming, the new one. We didn't design new pedals. We redesigned pedals, and it was one of the best moves I did. Because if I design a new delay pedal, the old delay pedal, which is one of our best sellers, won't sell anymore. That good. It's a new risk. So what we do is every 2 or 3 years, we redesign the whole thing, do new stuff in it. Like the new one has a big filter for both delays. So you have like a very dark or very clear delay. So basically like something like a digital or analog switch, and way better oscillation features and FX loop instead of whatever. And no new design. And we do this every few years. Instead of just
I have a question for you, Chris. Do you ever feel the pressure to come up with new pedals all the time just to keep up with the flow of new products on the market? Or did you find some way to adjust? No, not anymore?
Not anymore, because people are like into that if they buying. And I just like getting sure that it's always the best I can deliver. If I know, cool, we can make it sound way more like this and that now, I make a switch in it like old and new,
Yeah.
Is there? I would like to know a little bit how you see the changes in the industry today. I know that we talked like one-on-one a little bit about the success that JHS had with the Nauticlon, because they clearly created something there that was not only a super entertaining kind of thing, going with a pedal that you can assemble yourself without soldering a single thing, but also the whole marketing around it was just so well thought out. Where do you think? And then you said, well, my company is also doing better than it did last year. So things are improving for you. So my question would be, if you look at the especially the pedal market today, and if you look at that, you said that everybody is making pedals, and I think I mentioned once that we have like around 2,500 pedal companies all across the world that are currently registered. Where do you see the pedal market going in the next few years, and who do you think is still going to be alive?
Okay. If you see this podcast and you have a small company, please don't get hurt by my message. If what I see is that companies that are just like electronical engineer building the best overdrive they can imagine will get get into dust, like
disappear,
won't be there and disappear, because marketing is not everything, but a lot. And if nobody knows the product, people don't care if it's the best or not, because they need a reference. If Slash is selling pedals and says this is the best pedal for a JCM 800, I don't care about Slash, but I know I love JCM 800. I might try it. No, and all the pedal, all the fourth wave of pedal companies are like more electronic guys who like, I hate my job, but I can do electronics. Let's do pedals because I see it works on others. I do it also, and they do it like half time, and they won't do it anymore because you have to do way, way more than just build a pedal. And this is the magic barrier that we already crossed. That's why so many companies were at peak times, Corona and before, and now not anymore. Frank, how many German pedal builders do we have right now that you can count?
That I can count?
Army, Orion,
KMA, Orion. We have, you have JPTR FX. We have Red Sun FX. We have Occo.
Red Sun does not. I don't know if Red Sun does stuff, but I think not anymore like they used to.
No,
let's say it this way.
I think it's just very small badges. They don't do that much anymore. But if we had to look at the companies that are relevant, and with relevance, I basically mean you have heard about these companies
living
maybe in the US and so on.
And they're also living from it.
Yeah, exactly. And they're also making it's a business. It's a sustainable business. Then I would say no more than 10 companies, most likely less, way less.
I don't count Engel or Lele into it because they mostly do not pedals. Lele makes pedals, but they don't do like, it's more like accessories, whatever. Good stuff, by the way. Not trashing, but...
No. It's
you know what I mean.
Lele makes great stuff, 100%. But it's not a traditional pedal company. Neither is Engel. Engel is an amplifier company.
They don't make fast pedals or deal.
Exactly. They just
do pedals.
They also do pedals because at some point they thought they want to enter the pedal market and they want to cut into people's market share, which I don't see working for Engel particularly well. But that's a different it's a different topic. So in Germany, but also in Germany, as you mentioned before, it's a lot harder to register and establish a business and then to stay in business than in other parts of the world. Whereas in the US, for example, I don't think most people who build pedals in the US even have a proper business registration.
If I'm not mistaken, for companies, like for me in Canada, if you make below a certain bracket, it's not taxable by the government. So if you start to make, I think it's over 20,000 a year or something like that from sales. I could be wrong, but that's what I remember because I was trying to register my YouTube channel and all that. And when I got to see how pathetic of money I make from YouTube and what they required, I never registered. So for any independent worker, that's kind of the thing. It's like you have to look at your bracket. You have to look at all the stuff like, do you have many expenses throughout the year? Do you have any marketing expenses? The whole thing. And since I didn't really fall in that bracket, I never registered. So I think in the States, depending on the different states they're in, they might have that kind of thing. Like if you make below, I don't know, 15,000 a year, depending where you live, they may not have to register as a company.
Yeah.
But it seems like you guys in Germany are like super strict about what an independent worker has to do, right?
We have that too. And it's only for... it's Kleinunternehmerstatus.
Yes, small business regulation.
It's like 20,000 to whatever, I don't know. And you don't have to do tax papers as the same, I guess. I don't know anymore. But it's not enough to live from it at all.
No. No, not at all.
It's like more like if you do have like an Etsy shop and do like housemaid stuff, like I don't know.
Jewelry,
like
jewelry,
embroidering and shirts and scrapbooks.
Like, painting cups, whatever. I don't know.
Knitting.
Knitting, yeah, that was the word I searched. Knitting, Kraft. Was it like for the plants that knitted holder thingies?
Oh yeah. So you can put them up on the ceiling. And stuff.
Stuff like that. Etsy stuff.
Etsy stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Now, I'm thinking about quitting YouTube and going that route. Just learn to knit. I could probably like knit pedals and just put a nice circuit in there.
Cool. Do a knit gig bag.
Yeah. I could do that. Knitting for the headstock of your guitars and all sorts of stuff. I mean, possibilities are endless. I could make millions.
A holster for the neck, so it's comfortable.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about knitting, but for the volume knob on the guitars, so that your hands don't slip. So you have these nice knittings. You could have Christmas themes and Halloween.
Yeah. For your fingers, so you don't get hurt from the strings.
Yeah, so you don't get calluses. Oh, I hate calluses.
I knit guard, like a pick guard, knitted.
Oh yeah, that would look weird.
We're coming up with a lot of new ideas for great businesses.
So we're gonna have to cut out this part so that we can work on these ideas and not give it to the industry.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah, we should have thought of that before doing it in the podcast.
I think there's this one of the worst business ideas that I saw related with guitars was the guy who started to create attachable headstocks for people that play headless guitars but wanted to look like a regular one.
Geez, come on.
And he actually
BC Rich did that in the 90s.
Really?
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
BC Rich did headless headstocks with heads way before.
It's like
because you have the Kala whatever tremolos and you put the strings on this way, and they did a headstock without tuners to make it look off.
Oh, jeez, it kind of defeats the purpose.
Yes, that's the thing.
Oh, well.
I mean, people who play headless guitars, and I used to play headless guitars. I'm not anymore, but they're convenient in a way. But people who play headless guitars and they only play headless guitars, they're like their own kind of their own little bunch. So then to come out with an idea like, hey, you want to make your headless guitar look like a regular one? Here's a nice product for you. Where I would be like, no, I play this guitar because it's headless. I don't need a head. And
to that, sometimes I have really stupid ideas like the one I just got now. I want to go to the counter of that movement and make guitars with really big and absurd headstocks that serve absolutely no purpose. And you just make that, right? With a tiny guitar that's super slim, but like this big freaking round thing that is super ugly. And you go, no, we're done with headless. This is the new movement. And then eventually you start to shrink it back to normal size again. Could
Display headstocks with a touchpad on it.
Oh, that'd be sweet. I like that. Where you can play videos and people can watch it.
Yeah. Also, you can put it like in the stand and just like watch TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the people are just watching your headstock, whatever's playing on there, like Game of Thrones or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Kids these days, they're always scrolling. So you like put an Instagram feed on there that's like scrolling from itself and people can watch that.
Your idea there? How about you have that iPad into the headstock, but all your presets are scrollable so people can just reach out and change your tone to whatever the hell they want while you're playing?
There was a band like Man or Astro Man, and the bassist had that with an iPad and was like having a Zoom conversation.
What?
Yeah. Look it up. Man or Astro Man. And the bassist has like the craziest guitars on earth, like with an iPad built in and whatever, like effects, like MIDI controlled effects and whatever.
Oh,
There's always someone who thinks of this stuff before I do. Can't make money, man.
Look up Man or Astro Man live. That like Tesla coils on stage.
Oh yeah.
What?
It's insane.
Amazing.
So many cool ideas.
Yeah. So, at this point, it's very safe to say that you've established yourself as, I would say, looking at it from the outside, as kind of the biggest German manufacturer of effects pedals. At least as if I look at the volume of
and you don't see the volume.
No, I don't see the entire volume
because
I don't see the entire volume 100%. But the thing is that if I look at it from the outside, and I compare that with some of the other companies, and we don't have that many companies in Germany, obviously. But if I compare that, and since there is the other fact that you are only selling direct, it's not like you have a dealer network to be in compliance with or whatever. It's pretty safe to say that you've established yourself as the biggest German effects pedal manufacturer.
Thank you. And this was just hard work and nothing else.
Oh, it's only that?
I don't have a dealer network. No, because only that. Only 13 hours a day for the last 8 years. But I don't have a dealer network. I just sell to shops that I like very much. There are one in Great Britain and one in Germany. And it's Musikproduktiv. And Musikproduktiv gets my go because I rented my first guitar amp there as a kid. Because you can rent for 1 year a guitar amp, and this changed my life. And I give them what they like for their shop. They just have to ask, and I send it over as a thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I got a question for you, Chris. Do you think that probably a part of your success has to do with the fact that you're more in touch with how things are done now? Like a lot of companies, when they start out, they don't know that if you want to stay relevant, you have to be on social medias. You have to interact with the people on social media. You have to know how to present yourself on camera. You have to be able to film and broadcast. And I think you guys do all of that, right? So you have a YouTube channel, you have a presence on all the medias, and
not anymore.
Not anymore?
No, we don't have the YouTube channel anymore because I said earlier that I tried a lot, and you have to be very realistic about what works and what not.
Okay.
And YouTube didn't cut it for me because I have to build also the stuff that I show. And if I just show everything, I have like a show like JHS in like 2 years, not a problem at all, but who's designing, building, and controlling everything. So I have to do that also, so I can't do everything 100%.
Okay.
Sadly. But Instagram works. And I do everything by myself. And you have to, what most people don't do, it's that easy. They don't just Google how to post things online in 2023, because Instagram does this now, and Meta is connected, is this and this, and they don't like if you post YouTube links in it and whatever. Just read it. It's like a half year, do it in like calendar, update yourself with actual social media stuff. What is the problem there? I'm getting my whole life through those orders, so I take care that I stay relevant. If I don't do that anymore, that's a decision, but you have to read the rules for it. I see so many bands or brands avoiding being famous because they don't care. They don't care. They have good songs, good stuff, or the brand is like good ideas, whatever. And they're just like posting on Spanish. Nobody can read that. You know, it's just get ChatGPT. Can you translate that for me in English? Thank you. I can't write a sentence without like 10 grammar mistakes because I don't know the word in English, but I can't like read and write properly. I have other talents, but if I write something online, I check everything with ChatGPT or whatever, because that's how it works, you know. And you can do that if you have the time for all that, and for that you have to be full into the company and not half. Whatever. If I know I have to do a reel later because we have new pedals or whatever, I have the time to do that. It's in my menu for this day. You know.
So in other words, it has to do with trying to stay relevant, but also having the time and the money to allocate to being able to do like the whole social media thing and just keep pumping out content. I remember a while back I was talking with Brian Wampler, and I was asking him like, who makes your videos? He goes, I do. I go, okay, Who edits the video? He goes, I do. I'm like, okay, so you do everything. You script the videos, you film them, and you edit. He goes, yeah. But he goes, I can do it because I'm not like in the shops working. Like he's doing a bunch of stuff throughout the day, but it's still his priority to do this. But it's not everyone that can afford to do that. To your case where you're saying, you know, I got a business to run and the videos are not working that much. So that's where other people that create content day in, day out, I guess that's the value in like sending it to a guy like Pete Thorne or Ola England, guys like that, right? They just keep pumping out great content. And for people like yourself, if you can send it to him and he does like this great video and he's got this big reach, then it's worth investing in that as opposed to doing it yourself.
The most important thing is that people think they sell with products. And most Instagram pages are like full of products. And we all do that. If we like on the couch, we're scrolling like half an hour, we see commercial after commercial after commercial after commercial. Every post is a commercial. People don't want to look at anymore. They're just swiping away. The new whatever, the new guitar, the new... they don't care. And if you want to make it cut for your product, you have to build a community. Like, oh, Chris posted something new. Could be interesting, could be funny, I don't know. You know? And then you see, oh, cool, it's the Wallow pedal. Cool sound for that song. Yeah, of course. And they stayed on my post and saw it. And also, it's, of course, a commercial because I'm a company and I want to sell stuff. But people only thinking, okay, I post new pictures of this cool amp and it's enough because people will see now the amp is now online. People don't care. People don't care. They don't care. But if others are talking about it, they do care because they want a community.
Okay.
It's that easy. It's that easy. Just put the camera on it, on yourself, and just upload it. It's that easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it depends a little bit on. I think what you are doing is like it is. You always seem to be like super relaxed, and you always seem to be very confident. When you turn.
I'm not. I'm not. It's a part of me that is, but inside me, I'm super stressed at some times. I'm also not confident. I told you that I have to eat before we do the whole thing. I'm asking like 4 times which clock time we do the podcast because I fear that I miss something or whatever. I'm always prepared because I know that at some point I'm not that confident or whatever. It's all like all we are. We are like that, and I don't have a problem to show that I'm just a human being, and that's why people like that. It's that easy. That's what big companies do wrong. They just everything is perfect.
Yeah,
and people don't believe that anymore.
That's a good point, and that's what I was like going for when I said you take your cell phone, you start the video, you just record something. It's always super spontaneous, or it looks super spontaneous. Yeah. You might be maybe running a test recording to see if everything sounds okay, but it's always like super. It looks super spontaneous. It looks super approachable. It looks super authentic. And
authentic.
That's the thing, and it's just you. You're not acting to be someone else. You're not.
No.
And that's the difference. And obviously the big companies.
Me.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the big companies. Everything is like produced. The lighting is perfect. The sound is 100% perfect and produced as if it was produced in the best, high-end studio that you can imagine. And the people who are talking in front of the camera, a lot of them have a teleprompter and they just read everything. And you can, sometimes you can spot it because of their eye movements, because they're looking either a little bit down or a little bit to the side. Everything's perfect. And you're 100% right. I think people are kind of fed up, kind of tired about that. And that's
the point.
Yeah, it's a point. And it's different if you do this video completely by yourself alone, or if you're doing it with somebody else. I mean, if you look at Andertons, for example, these are 2 guys who kind of can establish a certain dynamic by creating content. There is some aspect of being spontaneous, and both have their personalities. But if you do it by yourself, then obviously it becomes a lot harder. And I think what you are doing is you're doing a great job on social media, doing exactly that, being authentic.
Thank you, and this is very nice, and I love the whole thing that you that other persons see exactly what I try to do. But in retroperspective, this is a thing that involves by trying. I did pro shots. I did too much prepared. I did book someone that can play guitar very well. I did the lightning thing, the whole media, whatever. Didn't work out. People don't care. People don't care. And if the people don't care, I can just get my iPhone done, like the Captor X, plug, pedal on it, dum dum is the guitar. The only thing is, do my hair look weird? Is the guitar tuned? That's the only thing. And let's go.
Yep.
And people like that. It's a community thing. They don't trust big companies anymore. That's the reason. And big companies do the whole perfect thing. Nobody wants perfect anymore. Everybody on Instagram is perfect. They don't believe them anymore.
I'm going to voice a very unpopular opinion here, but I think the word authentic is super important, because if you look at Fender or Gibson or any of these companies, how authentic can you be when the company's been sold 10 times? Right? So they're talking about like the lineage, the history. A lot of them don't even know how that old stuff was built. They don't know the names of the people who built them. Right?
No.
So then they have to dig back trying to find like, how do we make this custom amp or this custom guitar? Oh, fucked if you know, because the guy died 20 years ago. Like all the people that made this stuff, you guys don't know, and it keeps being sold and sold. So if you take a company like, I don't know, Wampler, let's say Brian Wampler in 30 years dies and it's handed down to another company, and they never talk to him. They never talk to his staff. They don't know anything. And they start to build pedals with the Wampler name, but the circuits inside have nothing to do with what he built, the legacy. Is it still Wampler? And that's the authentic part. I think that's what people like, is right now if I'm dealing, let's say with JPTR FX, I know the guy is on YouTube. I see him. He talks about his products. I can buy the pedals. I know it's built by him. But let's say in 30 years, it's sold to another company, and then it's sold and sold and sold. Is it still really JPTR FX? How authentic can it be, right?
I won't solve a thing. It goes with me or not. I got a few offers to sell my company, but always with the point that I am bought with it, because I am the one that makes it functional. Because the products alone are cool, but do you see other people than me like showing you the thing?
Nope.
No.
Yeah, of course.
Hard no.
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 Yeah.
And if I see other people showing my stuff, others, I'm like, oh, set it up wrong. You don't know how an amp works. You don't know how your own guitar works. You don't know this has to be this way, because they don't know. Because they don't know. Because they don't read manuals. They don't care also. They just want to make money out of you. And I thought, okay, let's cut the middleman. I do it myself only. And after a lot of learning, I thought investing only in my own company instead of others is the right way. I decided that for the last 2 years, and it worked out. And I didn't release any new stuff.
No.
At all. Just marketing.
Yeah.
Smart move. We also talked last week, Frank and I, about this concept of having a pedal builder that's also a musician, that can also do the online marketing stuff. And Frank was saying, one thing that sucks is that, let's say I build a pedal and then I send it to a YouTuber, right? And the guy sets it up wrong, doesn't say the right things. So then he's like cringy because he's like, oh my God, like you missed the point. How important do you think that relationship is between content creator, whether on Instagram, Facebook, or whatever, and the company where we talk honestly about what the product is? Because when I talked about this with Frank, I was saying, like, sometimes I've dealt with companies where they send me a pedal, and I don't want to be the idiot saying that it's a tube screamer when it's not, right? So I'll write to the company and I'm going to say, what is this circuit based on? And then they give me this spiel about, it's inspired by a legendary... No. What is it based on?
You're not the customer.
And they don't want me to kind of know what it is, because if I say this pedal is a tube screamer, but it's not a tube screamer, it's modified, it's got some cool stuff, they're afraid that I'm going to be reducing the perceived value and impact of their new product by stating something.
Yeah, super unprofessional from the company to not brief you. Just brief the person, because I, as a company, want you to sell my pedal as viewed in the best perspective as possible. So I tell you, it is a rat clone, but please don't say that in, like, for an example, okay?
Yeah.
It is a rat clone, but we changed a lot of things. I would be happy if you not say that this way. Say it more like it's a rodent, like a mammal, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
What the whole selling point is, I don't know. Yeah. But it has more knobs and more flexibility and blah, blah, blah. You have to adapt. And if you want to control the YouTube guy, you have to brief him. Please don't say things like this. But you can say, if they do that, they are nice. If they don't do that, you can control it anyway. So, but you have to. I do a little sheet, like the controls are for this and this and that. Volume makes stuff louder or whatever. And then I would do something like, it's good for this kind of music if you can play like a song, for example, something like this. Not just like do that, because then they get offended because you don't buy them. But if you push them or show them a few things that you wish to see, they're mostly very open to that. And I was, good idea. I can show that. I did it with a few YouTubers. They're like super proggy and guitar style. I was like, can you write a punk song? I was like, punk? I can try. And it's awesome.
Yeah.
You know? It's very unprofessional if companies don't brief their clients, their YouTubers. Super basic to do that.
Oh, tell us about the 9-string.
Tell us about 9-string guitars. Yeah.
Dirk, Barclay Guitars, and I made a Moss Ride guitar. He made it. I just said I want one. It has 9 strings, but not like a gent guitar, like 6 normal strings, but the high non-wounded strings are like a chorus pedal.
Wow.
And it's aluminum. And it just got the message that the neck is ready.
Ooh.
Yay.
Nice.
Any demo in the future?
Of course. It's here in the shop then.
Yeah. Right on.
Yeah. I don't play the high strings because I never play any leads or solos. But at some point I do like accents with like full E, like da 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 da. Yeah, it's cool.
Oh, nice.
Good one. So, getting a little bit into the nerdy side of things, I have a question. Yay, nerdy stuff. What if you wouldn't have your own pedals, and you said your pedals are like kind of your signature versions, like what you want a pedal to be and to do?
Yeah.
If that wasn't there, if that wasn't existing, what would be on your pedal board?
An old Line 6 DL4 that I modded to death. An MXR Plus and a small clone. Into a medium-driven amp, but 2 cabs.
Whoa.
The amp is way more important than pedal board.
Interesting. It's actually a pretty small pedal board for that matter.
Yeah.
Just three pedals and you're good to go.
The rest is just topping. I once used a Moog ring modulator for like noisy parts, but at some point I just do like scraping on the strings or whatever. At some point I turn delay knobs for oscillations. I don't play solos. I use that as a solo. And what is more important is a good, tasteful rhythm sound that doesn't get annoying after hearing about 10 minutes. That is way more important than a pedal collection on your board. Most people don't do that. Please do that. Because people standing and are more like bored because they are not on their phone anymore for like an hour. That is horrible for most people. And if they also have to watch you and you just standing there with horrible tones, and even not musicians are like, oh, it's sounding like ear piercing or not tasteful. I'm not a cook, but I can taste if something is good or bad. That's the same thing with your ears, because that's a sense. And if you put your amp just loud and just bass and just whatever, not gonna work. People don't like that. And if people don't like their music, you will be playing in your bedroom for your whole life. It is like that.
Very good. It's
super easy.
But since you said amp, another nerdy topic, at some point, and I don't know when it actually happened. Maybe if I remember correctly, maybe like 2 years ago or something. You started to look into also making amplifiers.
You were there as I decided to do that.
I was there.
Visiting us, and at that point I played 200 watt high watt clones, as you do, and they had the power and the punch, but they were way too clean. And then I wanted to decide to get a Friedman BE 100 and put them like the high watt and like a B setup, whatever. And we were in the music store together. And I plugged in the Friedman, was like playing one chord and put it on bypass because I didn't like it. I liked the sound very much. I like big heavy Marshalls, but there was, for me, no power. And that's a no for me. So I decided preamp, Friedman, power, KT88, 200 watts. And then I learned Jens Zander, met Jens Zander. He is locally from Jever. It's a town next to us. And he is like cloning and building and repairing a lot of tube stuff for the last 35 years. And he was like, are you insane? A Marshall with over 200 watts. Blah, 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 blah. Who's gonna want to hear that? Wimbledon Stadium? Like all the stuff you hear. But he didn't know that if you have a fuzz pedal, a delay, a reverb, and you play on drop C, you need a lot of headroom in the power stage, not in the preamp stage. The power stage. And for that, you need just wattage, clean wattage. And we did that. And now we are very happy and are the only European company that does this kind of amps.
No less. Wow.
It's basically something like a Soldano JCM 800, but it's like 250 watts clean. It's way more distorted, by the way. Yeah, it's a thing. I like it. It's very important not just like do the extreme stuff. That's easy. Like, okay, let's do this twice as loud. But it has also sound very good. And it has to work in every situation and sound good while it's doing it. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember trying that amp at Guitar Summit, and I could not believe how loud but how clear. Like, I was playing bass with it, and I was like, I want to buy that amp. I want to buy the amp, but I didn't have the money to buy the amp. But I really wanted the amp because I play both bass and guitars. So the idea that I could just have one amp that covers all of that for me, plus I could use pedals and not live the limitations of, let's say, a lower wattage amp. I get the point. Like at first, when I saw your amplifier, I was like, that is a lot of wattage. Why? Because a lot of people are shrinking the gear, and you decided to go the other way and just build it back up. But you build it up not just to make people laugh when they see the wattage. There was actually a design idea behind it, as you just stated, with like using fuzz and using pedals and having guitars that are dropped down, which a lot of people use and have been using for almost like 20 years now, right?
Yeah. Mostly you tell people that are using like a 7-string, whatever, that you need a heavy low cut because it gets muddy. Don't have to do that anymore if you have enough wattage to deliver that. It gets muddy because the amp says, okay, I can't handle it anymore. But if you have an amp that can handle that, oh yeah, that's putty. All the gain, all the bass, all the mids, full on. It's no problem. If you ever hear like a hi-fi tube amp, what in the price range of like 10,000 euros, you won't believe your ears. What bass comes out of the speakers? It's like unbelievable. And it's basically the same hi-fi design, but in an amp.
Super. I find it impressive, but it also begs the question: how many? So, assuming that Jens was his name, right? Yeah. Assuming Jens is making these amps by hand, how many of these amps are you able to produce within, let's say, a month or a year?
Right now, this year, 10 a year. Next year, we try more. We do now the pre-building in the shop. So I bend the chassis. I do the wood corners. We have wood corners. So if you put the amp, the screws out to get the amp out of the box.
Chassis enclosure.
You can do it by thank you. You can do it by yourself and don't have like to touch metal, because most people are afraid to touch the bare stuff of an amp because they think they get shocked or whatever, or think they can damage something. So we make like big wood handles so you can like put it on the table. Everything is leveled out so it doesn't stand on the tubes. It's very customer friendly. And I pre-mount everything and do all the cables in the amp, and then circuit-wise, Jens picks them up in like 4 or 5 amps and then just finish them and tune them by ear, because component drifting is way more than I ever thought in amps. Do you ever had like 4 of the same amps in the same room? You won't believe what 1% can do. It's okay. One amp has a bit more bass, and then you get like reduce the bass on the EQ a bit more, and then they are the same again. But it's there, and you have to avoid that, because every customer gets the amp that is promised, of course. And sometimes you have less or more gain, and then you send out the less gainy amp to the customer that wants more gain, and then you have a problem. So everyone's the same, and that's a lot of work. And we tuned that. And we also made a SVT killer switch too. Yeah, because Jens had an SVT 300 Pro and was calling me and was like, the power stage is mightier than the Titan. And I was like, really? Oh, we have to change that. And now we have a switch that filters something and pushes bass. So even a 300 watt MPEG tube, whatever, has not the power against our Titan. Was very important for us. It was a week of work. Yeah.
So there's one thing I want to mention about your amp. When I was over and I met you at Guitar Summit, I interviewed you. You kind of showed me your pedals and stuff. And you showed me the back of the amplifier where you said, if you play at a venue and they have really bad voltages coming out of the wall, you just grab this little screw here and you can fit your amp to whatever venue you're in. I've never seen that before.
Other companies have that. The internet worries already. Other companies have that. They do, but they forgot the LEDs to show you that there is something wrong.
Yeah.
And I set up the Titan in the big room of, I believe, 50 amps was at Guitar Summit in the big room. I don't know. Lots of amps on the same power supply is dragging the current. So they don't get 230 voltage anymore, where they are biased to. They get like 220. So they're biased lower, but you don't know that.
Yeah.
So, you play at the punk venue and everything is on one voltage and everyone is like for years and hum and whatever. And then you set your amp up and the Titan is like flashing red on the back. Then you get one of your small screwdrivers. Everything is in perfect condition. Everything is rebiased to the new voltage. Yeah. And this happens a lot. I have different voltage in my store than I have at home.
Yeah.
Don't know that. And what is very funny, what I do at like events like the Guitar Summit, I put my Titan on top of like different amplifiers. They ask me what I do then, and I'm rebiasing it. Why? Because every amp here in the room is not biased. And then I just leave. The shop owner's like, yeah, that's why they all sound like shit. That's that easy. You have always a good running amp. The tube is like broken. You just plug a new tube in, set it up, done. Don't have to buy a full quartet of expensive tubes. And you can do that your whole life. Just buying one new tube. Doesn't have to be the same. Of course, spec-wise the same, but not the same brand. You can just like, hey, local shop, I need a KD88. Yeah, okay, we have one. Okay, cool, no problem. Plug it in, let's go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be matched at all.
No, not at all. You are the one matching.
Yeah. That's crazy.
The matching is like someone plugging two or four together in the same area.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's interesting is that a company like yours, which in relation, I mean, I mentioned before that your company is, at least in my eyes, the biggest company for effects pedals in Germany. But on the large scale,
Frank, we already are.
On the large scale of things, and because the perception of names and brands is always going to be like, if I say JPTR FX, I'm gonna have like, I don't know, 6 out of 10 people in the world knowing what it is. If I say Mesa Boogie, for example, it's going to be 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. And in that,
of course,
that kind of relation, how is it that a company with your profile thinks about that kind of things in an amplifier? And Mesa Boogie, and here's like the most ridiculous Mesa Boogie story I've ever come across. I went to the UK once, and we met with the, at that point, UK distributor of Mesa Boogie. And they were concerned about sellers from the EU, because we still had the EU and Great Britain was still part of it. And there was a huge difference between the UK pound and the euro. So a lot of people would buy from European mainland instead from buying from the UK. And the UK distributor of Mesa Boogie was super concerned that they would get flooded with EU Mesa Boogies instead of selling their UK Mesa Boogies, because according to him, for the UK, they have to be tuned, like the power supply has to be tuned, because the voltage in the UK is so shitty that sometimes at like high peak hours, you only get 190 or 195 volts instead of 220, which then causes the amp to sound like
huge.
Which then causes the amp to sound like shit.
It's a Van Halen mod.
Brown sound.
Yeah, Van Halen did like 10 or 20 less volts in their amps. I don't know. Yeah. Why I'm doing this? Because I want to sell products that I want to have. That's that easy. I also like seeing myself as an inventor of cool things. So I just do exactly that. And I like when people say, "Oh, that's brilliant. Why I never thought of that." And if other big companies watching this podcast, you can pay me to give me, so I give you some ideas that you had in the 80s already. Because if I had their money and their resources and their workforce and whatever, dude.
So I'm gonna
Chris Jupiter bought Gibson guitars.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that might be the strength of your company and other companies like yourself, where the person who founded the company is still the head and thinking about stuff. Like you're not driving around in a limousine and staying at like the most expensive hotel and eating caviar. You're still like doing the grunt work. You're still part of it. So you're still connected to what it's like to be a musician. I think that might be why some of those big companies that could benefit from having someone like you coming in and saying, "Hey, look, let's be honest about what musicians need. And you guys could do this, this, and that." So you kind of become an advisor to them. And maybe that's the way forward too, is getting the big companies to work with smaller companies so that the big ones are more in touch with the market.
Yeah. Basically, I just see like a product or buying a product and I'm disappointed of it because I like stuff a very special way. So I buy myself a JCM 800 and think, "Oh, cool, but power is missing." I get myself a Friedman, cool, power is missing. Get myself a diesel, sounds too Metallica for me, whatever. I don't know, just examples. And by that experience over years and years and years and talking to a lot of people in the industry, I basically developed a product, something that I want. That's enough for me. Something that I want. I want to get an op-amp big muff. I get an op-amp big muff, the same serial number that in the same range serial number as Billy Corgan's, by the way. And I paid an awful lot of money for that. And then I decided, cool, I build this now and make a version that the original sounds tired against it. So let's go, because I like big headroom, big guitars. Not like big headroom clean, I hate that, but like crunching heavy. And so I developed, for example, the Wallow, and decided, okay, it works on chips. Chips have like resolutions. So high headroom, more voltage, more resolution, more cleanness, not the amount of gain, I mean resolution, like mud and whatever. That's why the Wallow sounds kinda the original, but way more heavy. This is, for example, something that I do. And then I think, okay, the one thing that makes a big muff good and bad is the big filter. It's a very cool big sound, but would be a way better distortion with a different filter. So make it work with different filter settings and not like the mid-bump push that other companies do, because then you don't have a big muff anymore, then you have a different pedal. And you buying a big muff, so you want a big muff, you know? If you change the EQ parameters that much, you don't have the big muff anymore. And then people compare it to other pedals, and then it's not good anymore.
Yeah.
That easy.
So, looking a little bit forward into the future, which is always like it's always difficult to predict how things are going to go. But what is your plan? What is your plan? Where do you see your company in the next like 3 years, for example? What kind of projection? And I know it's as I said, it's difficult to make a projection. But where do you project yourself in the next 3 years?
I can say that because I'm just planning to do, and if you play realistically, is that the word? Then it mostly happened that way. I see faster shipping times, more stock, but not like always in stock. That's never going to work. But one employee more, I think more in like the intern ways. I wish I had one employee more and can afford one employee more. And that's enough for me. It's like not a sprint, more marathon thinking. Because when we had like big booms, when we like have a episode at JHS and whatever, we had like 500 in orders in like 2 weeks, and was like, whoa. And we had like 4 people. So I'm here at my desktop for like mails and whatever, and I even sold it here. We had like the packing station, there was someone soldering on it, and this crush was so big that it made us slower, because you have just pack 400, 500 orders. Just packing is days. If you just 3 people, there are people on the internet claiming like having 500, 600, whatever orders in 1 month, and they're one person, not gonna happen. If I would say about myself that I'm very organized and I'm very disciplined. And if I can do that with 4 people, no one can. It's like we're so strict, we are so in work, and we learn from situation like that. And if I see us in the future, I see one employee more to shorten waiting times, 1 amp more, like a different model. And what I wish from the future is to have it as long as possible. Like me as an old person still being the freak, adopting the new media way to do all that stuff. I don't know. I have to learn that, but I don't want to work in other jobs anymore, and my employees don't want to do that also. And this is the only important thing for me as the CEO of the company. That my co-workers are happy, that I am happy with my life, that they are happy with their life, that the customers are happy with the products, and I sell stuff, I make stuff that I'm proud of, not just like, okay, let's do a tube screamer and let's do an EQ because this is something I've never seen, but our EQ has like 10 dB and you can do the filter sweep. People don't care. People don't care. When was the last time, Frank is like into building, but when was the last time you thought, wow, it's a paramedic EQ on a tube screamer. Cool, I need that. No one's, it sounds good or not? Thank you. No, normal customers don't care about the way of equalization as long as it sounds good, of course. Maybe it's, cool, sliders, because cool, haptic is cool, of course. But that's not important. I want to make myself proud and the people around me happy working for me. And this is something I see in the future also. And we will do that. And I will make this possible by any means.
So the way I'm kind of seeing your situation, Chris, it seems to me like you've adopted the philosophy of if you try to please everybody, you'll please nobody. So
Exactly.
yeah, so you'd rather do your thing, be authentic to yourself, make products you like, and you know that if you like it, other people are bound to like it, but you're not trying to please everybody. Like, you don't want to see your pedal on everybody's board. Like, you don't want some guy who plays jazz to have one of your pedals just because it's cool. You want him to have it because it's useful to them.
I sell the ID to the pedal as well. The Wallow has so much resolution because shoegaze players have like a delay or a reverb in front, and it translates very well when the distortion after has a high resolution. And people asking, I need a big mouth pedal because iconic sound. You don't want the mids pushed there because you don't have the big mouth sound then anymore. I want a big mouth for shoegaze. Okay, lots of pedals, lots of information in the signal, whatever, high resolution. The Wallow is a perfect pedal for that. People read that, people know that, people have heard about other people having that, and as a solution for their needs, and they recommend other people. And you creating problems and offering solutions is the marketing term for that, something you can just learn and read. And you can do that also the kind way, like, hey, you have a lot of big muff pedals that can do doom sounds. If I get an email, you hear the bing, bing, bing all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't worry about that.
Okay. There are a lot of the same kind of niche pedal, and if you like offering my pedal is for this and that, people of this kind of way playing are more interested in your products, and this is already happening, and I can't happily stop that, of course. This is a good thing, so I don't have to make everyone happy, because there is no way a pedal can do that.
No.
But 10 pedals that are sound differently, that are used, you don't use a hammer for everything, you know?
No.
It would be funny.
You could. you could try, but you know, you'll get varying the results for sure.
And most company act like they can sell a hammer for everything. So if it's more complex, it's like a captor can't do anything, or whatever solution thingy can do everything. IR distortion pedals sounds like crap. Don't pretend like they can do anything. No, they can't.
That's interesting. That's interesting because, you know, I've never heard anyone put it like this, where you're kind of diluting the idea of your product because you want to please everybody. So you're going to put out something that you claim can do everything. And instead of like, because there's a balance there. On one side, you have the one trick pony. On the other side, you have complete versatility. It can do everything. And it seems like between those 2 points, there's a lot of great areas where you can find a niche and make something very cool.
Of course, you can play everything with a big muff. Santana plays a big muff. And there's a big range for everything. But stop pretending like the pedal is the ultimate thing for everything, because it's a lie, and what you get is unsatisfied customers that are was not the right thing. I guess I put it on Craigslist, eBay Kleinanzeigen in German. Kreuz Schlitzschraubenzieher. And was a funny German word. What you get then is it's just a Phillips screw head.
Yeah.
Like the normal screwdriver. What you get then is unsatisfied customers that don't trust you anymore because you got the pedal that can everything, but it can't do anything. So why acting like that?
That's interesting.
But I can recommend a different pedal. That's the trick here. You're more into traditional distortion, then a muff is not your friend, but the catastrophe is more your thing then. You know?
And annexed to this, would you say, because you're trying to position yourself with certain products, would you say that if you send it out to certain people so they can do reviews or demos of your pedals, do you get to see the players and decide, okay, I think this person's playing style would fit this pedal better, just so you can really highlight what your products can do?
Yeah. This is also basic marketing. And I explained earlier that the last 2 years I make a change in how I put my company out. And I decided, and I have to talk about this topic very carefully because a lot of my friends are YouTubers.
Okay.
They're all people that are making their living with that and feed their kids and whatever.
Yeah.
But I figured out that I can do that myself better. And for me, of course, for a company like Boss not, but I know. And the money you spend on YouTubers for their work, you can better put in good camera, good lighting, or meta commercial fees, ads, whatever. That's that easy.
Yeah. It can make sense depending on the people. I know there's some companies out there that don't want to go that route. Like they'd rather put it in the hands of someone else so that those people can, try and do justice.
I have a few that I selected because I know what for me is important. If I send out a pedal and they play prog stuff, but they're famous, but they play weirdy prog stuff, that's cool. And I thought for a long time it's good to have a few videos about normal people playing normal stuff with my stuff, because it's a good selling point to show people that they can also do other stuff. But people aren't that stupid. They know that.
Yeah.
And it's way more interesting for people it's supposed to do that. Oh, wow. And not just normal stuff. I don't get in the ring with the normal stuff with my stuff because then I lose.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. Definitely makes sense. I think we are about to hit the 2-hour mark, and we have a rule at this podcast that we keep it at 2 hours to not overload people with stuff. I would like to thank you, Chris, for being our guest today. It was very entertaining. Oh, you have something to say?
I got some questions for Chris.
Oh yeah.
Oh, let's do with the questions.
Oh yeah. It's rapid fire.
Come on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go. So if you were to look at everything that came out in 2023, what are your 3 top gear that you saw that really piqued your curiosity?
The reverse delay from Old Blood Noise.
Okay.
I don't look into the market, but the Captor X was the best invention in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Let's go with the next one. What are your 3 favorite fuzz pedals of all time?
Big Muff Op Amp, Fuzz Face, and the Fuzz Factory.
Oh, good choice.
Yeah, good choice.
That one. Okay. Your 3 top pedal companies, when you were young and to now, the 3 that are still iconic to you.
Old Electro Harmonics. I started because they looked so cool and I want to do that also. Orion FX because I want to be him as I was at 19. I was this guy is just doing what the big ones do in his basement. That's so cool, so artistic, and so cool, just cool. And I thought this should be my life too. I'm not a musician, but I can give the musicians what I can, you know?
Yeah.
I want to be the Q of James Bond for musicians. You know, like
Nice
a guitar
analogy.
pedal, but also a flamethrower, you know?
And it fits in your shoe. All right. So next question, your 3 favorite types of pedals. That could be like modulations, delays, reverbs, whatever you want. The 3 types.
A dark delay, a cleanish distortion that can push my amp, and a tuner with a good buffer in it.
Okay. Cool. Now
Way more
we're gonna
important than everything else.
Okay. Now I'm going to just change it up just a little bit. Your favorite 3 movies of all times.
Oh, the new Godzilla movie, -1. I saw it yesterday. I cried 4 times.
Oh, yeah?
Oh,
Yeah. Because it was like so epic and like touching. A Godzilla movie that is like touching. It was like, oh.
Wow.
Yeah. like after Second World War, like everything is in ruins and heartbreaking.
Oh, yeah.
Movies. Rogue One, Star Wars, best Star Wars movie.
Okay.
Please don't hate me.
no.
This is the best one. Of course, old ones, but if you like put them side by side, and someone is like, I never seen Star Wars. This is the one I would show
Okay.
because it's just good. And Prestige.
Okay.
It's Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman. I don't know anymore, but it's like 2 magicians fighting each other.
Oh,
And
okay,
David Bowie.
remember that
David Bowie is playing Nikola Tesla.
Yeah. I've heard of that. Never
stuff.
watched it though. Yeah.
Yeah, epic.
one. Okay. Next question. Your favorite 3 video games of all times.
Armored Core 6. Do you know that?
I wasn't it a car game on PS1, I think? Was it?
Armored Core is huge mecha robots fighting.
Oh, okay,
on
yeah,
planets.
that's what that is.
Oh, yeah.
It's like-
okay. Yeah.
It's frustrating, difficult, and I love that. And also Gatling guns. Cyberpunk and Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, that's a great game. Love that game. Okay, so 3 more questions. The next one is, out of your own pedals that you make, what are your favorite 3?
Fernweh, Katastrophe, Wallow.
Cool.
Silver Machine.
Okay.
Sorry.
Cool.
It's hard because it's like, which one of your child is your favorite?
No, exactly. But that's what I
They're
put it-
listening.
that's-
And
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
listening.
All right. So let's say we're just thinking here, 3 pedals that you haven't made, but that you would love to make in the future.
I can't explain. Can't do that. Sorry.
No? Okay.
No, because I'm
You're
likely,
working on it now.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
very, very spontaneous and stuff, and I'm working on like 4 things at once.
Okay.
And I'm very talky about that, and I learned that I don't do that anymore.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay.
So
I
last
can
question.
show you. I can tell you
Yeah.
when we are not recording.
Okay, cool. So my last question for you, and this is a good one, but at least I hope it is. Let's say you were chosen to go to Mars and you're never coming back, and you were told you can bring 1 guitar, 1 amp, and 5 pedals. What would you choose?
The one with the most oxygen in it. But I can survive on Mars. It's just a lonely island thing.
Yeah. It's that, but I didn't want to send you in the path of like, is there electricity on the island?
Yeah,
Why am I
okay.
there?
Okay. And I don't want to come back.
Oh, you're not coming back. You bring in that stuff, and that's what you're playing for the rest of your life.
So this pops out different questions because a tube amp can just run a certain time. So it has to be a modeler, but this would nothing I choose if you were asking what is your go-to whatever. But in this situation, all digital, because no one else is seeing me playing that. I don't know, but the kind of question is something that is like my whole gear got stolen, but someone is buying me new stuff. I would say something like a JCM 800, a Katastrophe, a Fernweh pedal, and a guitar that is like super heavy but chunky in the highs.
Okay.
I don't care about forms, colors, or whatever. It has to sound a special way. If I do like chuck and it's like punching, but not machen. And when I play slow chords, it has to like do the thing. But if I play fast, it has to do like the. That's way more important than the gear.
Okay. See, what I like about asking questions like this is that it gives me a glimpse into how your mind works. I could tell right away. I ask you a question and you were like, just thinking about like, is there oxygen in there for the tubes? And you're thinking, well, I'm like that too, right? So it's like if you would have asked me that question, I would have been like, I don't know. I would have been so screwed. But it really gives me a glimpse into how people think, because you were like taking the complexity of it and you brought it down to, let's say my gear got stolen and someone bought it for me. I would keep it, a little more limited. But a lot of people, when you ask them a question like this, they go into like, I would have brought like a 1959 Les Paul with, a Dumble, because they're thinking like big, like I'm not coming back, so all expenses. But you were more like practical, so you're bringing it down. Yeah. And I think that's something that's very interesting, because you don't always get a glimpse of how people think about like something that's limited, right? And that's fun.
People want to impress other people's, and that is super normal. And we all like that. And if people like counting, I have to do this kind of Taylor with this matchless amp, they want to impress with their taste. And some people learn that they can impress with their work. And for that, you need a hammer, a this, and that. And they don't care about the color or whatever. And I can impress with taste because my taste is shit, and I just like this way. And if you like that, you like that. If not, you don't. I know that I jammed, but I know that I jammed once with Frank, and I was putting my amps on online, it's not standby, and he was like in the practice room because it's just volume.
Yeah, it was Frank shatteringly loud.
And Frank would set up everything in a whole different way. What doesn't mean it's better or not. No, I would say that Frank's tone is on way higher levels in a good taste. I'm just like, okay, how much bass, gain, highs, and mids can this amplifier handle? Cool. Let's do that. And this is my style of doing that. And this is a certain sound. If you do like the 90s metal sound, it's this attitude, like the Pantera sound, like the Rob Zombie or Static X, whatever band was common there. It's just like, and this is also a taste. And I like that. Raw.
Awesome.
Okay. Thank you for having me. I wish you the best day you can have. And bye.
Thanks for stopping by, man.
Thanks for stopping by.
Really awesome having you.
Thanks everyone for listening. And we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.